Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year! I hope you all had it starting off real great. I hope you all had a great New Year's Eve. I was out with friends. We watched the fireworks. It was really lovely, a little bit scary, not gonna lie. But anyways, I thought to myself, because I took a little bit of a break, 2 weeks to be exact, which were so refreshing, loved it. Kind of don't want to start working again, but I guess you know what I mean. Who does? I thought to myself, what would be a project that, is not too difficult, so not too difficult of a start into the new year. Nice, cozy, winter related, not a coat, and also in fashion, that would be great. And I came up with the idea of making a cardigan. What I love about the idea is that you can use the pattern for working with fabrics that you buy, or you can use it as a pattern for knitting your cardigan, essentially. So if you're into knitting, I am going to start a knitting project privately soon, and I'm kind of excited. I've been doing a lot of crocheting the last couple of weeks, so really into that, and now I want to also go into the knitting. I do know how to knit, but it's never been my forte. I've always done crocheting rather than knitting, so I'm not too skilled, but I want to learn. Anyways, I don't know why I'm going on a tangent right now. But what I wanted to say is the cool thing about this is that you can also use it as a pattern for a knitted cardigan, which I think is really nice. So I am going to do a fabric knitted cardigan. So I'm going to use knitted fabric to sew up the cardigan. And I originally want to do the cardigan in a signal orange. I don't know if it's in the picture here, but it's that color. Doesn't really matter, it's orange. So I thought to myself, I don't have a rib fabric in orange. How about I'm just gonna buy yarn and knit up the rib that I'll need for, top, bottom, front and stuff with my knitting machine. So I did that, did a little trial run. Came up with this, which is gorgeous, like don't get me wrong. But this whole piece is one skein of yarn and I only bought 2. And this doesn't even fit the hem that I'm doing. So I had to scrap that idea. Still loved it. Haven't used my knitting machine in a little while, so that was exciting. And I was also impressed that I made it work still, even though I have not used it for months, I think. But anyways, that was fun. So then I thought, okay, what could I do? And I figured this rust color here would also look really nice. And I also happen to have a rib fabric that works perfectly with the knit, the French terry, which this is, that I already own, which I bought for another project that I did in the past. I did like really cool hoodies in the past. So that's what I'm using now, and I think it's gonna be really, really cute, hopefully. And I bet it's gonna look amazing if you actually knit it by hand or by machine, doesn't matter. So maybe I'll do that in the future at some point. Anyways, that's a big intro, a little story time. Let's get into this project. So putting the bottoms together is rather quick. We have the back piece and then the 2 front pieces. I'm just going to put right sides together of them at the shoulder seam, so along here, and then also overlock this. Let's iron the seam allowance into the back of the bodice. And I like to use the clapper to secure the seam allowances down. It just makes for a nicer, flatter seam. But you can use any wooden cold surface, I guess, as long as it's flat. And it doesn't matter that the piece gets water marks, I guess. So now with that done, we can attach the sleeves. So I have my front side here, and then this goes here. You can always find which side of the sleeve goes where with the distance of the back of the sleeve notches. So this one is small. What happened to my nail? Look how nice I did my nails. And now this decided to fall off. Disappointment. Anyways, as I said, you can always determine where's the front and the back by looking at the distance of the sleeve notch to the side seam. The back always has a larger distance, or some patterns also use 2 notches. Then you can also see which notch goes in the back. So let's put these together. The arm's eye is a teeny tiny bit smaller than the sleeve head, so we'll need to ease them together, but that'll just make a nicer look in the end. Let's match up the shoulder seam, back sleeve notch, and then side seams. And I'm just gonna stretch and sew. So this way I'll be able to match up both lengths, even though they're not the exact same. They're like off by 1 to 2 centimeters, which is by design, so that the sleeve just looks a little bit better. And with the fabric being elastic, here you can see that the sleeve head is bigger than the arm's eye. Because the sleeve is elastic, we can just simply stretch and sew on both sides, and it should fit together nicely. And then I'm also going to overlock the seam. Let's iron the seam allowance into the sleeves. I like to use a tailor's hem for that, as it's round, and I can just put it over top here and iron very nicely. Okay, that's what it looks like so far. So this here are my cuffs. They are designed to be tight, not, too tight that it's uncomfortable, but tight. So depending on how far your fabric can stretch, mine stretches rather a lot. We have to figure out if you have to, this is fine as you can see, if you can reach the length or the width of your sleeve hem, or if you have to gather the sleeve hem beforehand so that it can fit on here. So for me this is fine, I can just stretch and sew it on. And as you can see here, I actually folded it in half, and also the other side. I'm also gonna stretch it to be the same now as here, since I, stretched and then ironed it. It's kind of staying in the position I put it there. So let's just even them out like that. So with these prepped now, we can continue and actually also close the side seams so that we're able to put the cuffs on. So I'm just gonna put the side seams together of the bodice, so front and back, and then over here into the sleeve, and just close the seam and also overlock it. I'm going to use my sleeve board to iron the seam allowance towards the back. So let's prep the cuffs. I'm going to go ahead and iron the cuff in half, and then I'm going to put right sides together like that and sew along here. So now, as you can see, it didn't overlock. I can open the seam allowance up and just fold it on top of each other, like so, and turn the cuff right sides out. And you can barely see the seam right here. And I think I want to iron the cuff like this as well. Okay, and this is ready to be put onto the bodice. Let's just do the same for the other side. And now both cuffs are prepped. So the challenge here is to match both of these lengths up. As you can see, the sleeve is way longer. So what I like to do is turn the sleeve wrong sides out so that I can see exactly where my side seam is. And then I'm gonna put the cuff on the inside so that right sides meet. And I'm gonna put the seams right on top of each other and pin that in place. You can, if you feel more comfortable with that, also mark your halves and your quarters so that, for example, I'll show it here. This is half of the cuff, and then once you put these right on top, this marks your quarters. And you can do the same with your sleeve hem. And then you can easily match up, once you stretch your fabric, you can easily match up all 4 quarters, and that just gives a more even result like that. And now I just put the pins together accordingly and pin the cuffs onto the sleeves. And then once I sew, I can stretch everything so that there are no ruffles, nothing. And that basically gathers your sleeve hem for you to the size of your cuffs. And once that's done, I can also go around and overlock the sleeves. I have the too much gene, so I want to actually add an embroidery to my cardigan, and I want to add a cross-stitching embroidery. So I went on mySewnet.com and found a cross-stitching motif that I like, and I think I'm just gonna add it to the lower portion right here of my cardigan. And it's kind of a border, so I might do a lot or just one piece on the front. Not quite sure about that yet, but I'm gonna put it here. So let me just get stabilizer. I'm gonna use Puff's new Tear Away sticky stabilizer. So haven't used this before, but I figure on maybe a knit fabric, it'll work nicely. Could also not be the case because it is elastic. I don't know, but we're gonna try. I see. This might be too thick. Let me see. I think we're fine. It'll be a tear away anyways. I'm thinking whether I should do the Aqua Magic one, but I don't really want to make it wet and then having to dry it again. So this one it is. Okay, and now we clamp it into the hoop. I think I'll need a backing fabric here. Now this is getting way more complicated than I wanted it to be. Now I have to add some clamping fabric around it. I'm just gonna sew around here and add the clamping fabric. Okay, let's clamp. I think I want it somewhere here. Okay, that should be fine. And now we're gonna embroider. Okay, I've got everything set up now. And I'm just gonna click play. I have a really nice warm toned color scheme. It's this right here and the yellow that's in the machine already. So I'm just gonna click play and hope for the best. I don't need to. I know the machine is capable of more than that, but you know, it's always fun and exciting. Let's go. And we're down to color number 2. Color 3. Okay, this is what the embroidery looks like. I feel like it's really cute. I'm thinking about doing another one here, but I also like it asymmetrical. Also looks kind of autumny, kind of fall-y because of the color scheme, but I really like it. I think it's cute. So let's continue with the hem. So I don't know if I showed you the cuffs because I got so excited about the embroidery. This is what they look like. As you can see, the cuffs cinch in the hem of the sleeves really nicely. As for the, also the backing worked very nicely. Like for this, stabilized it perfectly, worked really good. So for the hem, I am first going to put the center back together. So I'm choosing either short side, closing right here. Same for the cuffs. I want to just open up the seam allowance here. You can, iron it as I'm doing right now. Also works if you just hand iron it, essentially. Open. And then I'm gonna fold the hem on top of itself again, wrong sides together, and check that your side seams, the notches for the side seams are matching up. And then I'm just gonna iron in that fold line into the hem as well, like that. And then we can put that already onto our hemline of our jacket. So I'm gonna match up the center back with that seam. Obviously, if you have a bigger fabric, it probably there won't be any bigger fabric because the rib fabric is usually knit in the round. So usually it's rather short. So 70 centimeters, if you open it up on one side, is probably the maximum, but you'll need double of that. So you'll just cut out 2 pieces that you have to, put together in the center back instead. So same for the hem here. It is a teeny tiny bit smaller than the actual fabric, as you can see here. So we're just gonna match up the side seams with the notches, and then we're gonna stretch and sew here as well as we did for the cuffs. And that's just gonna, you know, gather the hem in a tiny bit, not too much. Don't want it to be like, you know, I'm not sure how you say it in English, but those jackets that you see in college, they're called something that I don't want to say on YouTube in German because it's probably going to flag me. Starts with a B, ends with an omber jacket. I know it's weird, but you know. So now we're going to sew the hemline onto our jacket. Let's carefully iron the seam allowance upwards. I don't want to distort this line too much, but I think it should be fine. Okay, yeah. And now the last step is to add the outer rim here. It looks really cute. Let's do that. So we have long strips of a rib fabric, and we're going to put right sides together of the strips and just sew along one short side. Iron that open. That's going to be the center back that will sit at the neck area up there, like that. And now we're going to iron the wrong sides together as we previously did as well. Just iron the fold line in. Make sure to match up the center back seam here. Okay, and now we can start to put the strip on here. And I'm intentionally going to leave the small edges here open because I want to sew it in like this. So it's going to be rounded at the bottom, and this also allows to adjust the length. If, you know, these are super stretchy, they behave all differently. If you iron them, they might stretch out more than you thought, and then it just doesn't fit anymore if you finish these edges beforehand, and then you'll have to redo that and so on and so forth. So to combat that, I'm just going to leave them open and pin the piece like a teeny tiny bit stretched, not too much, onto my jacket. And right here where I have the corner, I am going to stretch a bit further and do a rounded seam so that once this, you know, is folded outwards, it looks like that. We're all gonna iron everything nicely once it's sewn on, so don't worry about that yet. And right here, as you can see, it's stretched out while ironing, so that's no problem. Just gonna pin it on, and then right here, I wanna do this. So we'll end with the folded area parallel to the folded area down here at 1 centimeter. So measure from here inwards 1 centimeter right here. That's where the edges need to meet, like so. And you also don't want to do this curve too long. Like you just want to do and then right here everything matches up again. This is what it looks like from the back. And I'm trying to replicate that on the other side. And I also know how much I need to essentially cut off. So I'm just going to mirror that right here. Okay, and with all that prepped, we can put all of this on. Let's go ahead and sew at 1 centimeter. Okay, let's iron everything nice and clean. So the seam allowance just faces into the jacket itself. And I was experimenting a little bit with having a clean edge at the bottom hem. And I came up with this solution. I think it looks really nice from both sides. Like you can't really, you know, say anything against that. I think it looks very clean. I am going to show that to you on the other side once I'm done with ironing here everything. Okay, this edge here. So what I did was I turned this edge inwards like this. And I tried to make this here as flat as I possibly can. So this will bunch up a bit, just a tiny bit, but that should be fine. And then I'm just gonna iron it down. And with this fixed like that, that's what it looks like on the right side. I'm gonna use hem tape to fix it in place for now. And I'm gonna make sure to get all the layers that I want to fix in place. Make it look nice and even. And now I'm gonna blast it with a lot of heat. So this is fused in place. This is what it looks like from the right side. I'm gonna iron it again like that. And now what you can do, you don't have to, but you can also stitch along here a rectangle to fix this here also in place. I'm not gonna do that. I don't want that look. So I'm just gonna leave it at that and call this jacket done, apart from the buttons, of course. So the buttons go into this edge here. So it's gonna overlap from here all the way down to the hem like this. And you wanna match this up, of course, here and the edge up here. And I'm gonna have my last button probably a little bit over top of that seam here. And obviously I'll add the placements and everything for you guys onto the pattern already. I just didn't do that yet for my pattern here. So just gonna quickly do that. And I always make the mistake, I don't know why, but I always want to do them horizontally. Obviously they're gonna go in vertically. So the first one I am going to add here, and I want big buttons. So I'll do rather big chunky buttonholes here as well. I'll do 2 centimeters. I think it's gonna be fine because it is a stretchy material. And then I have 11 centimeters. That's not right. And then I have 19, so that's 9.5. And then we'll do a 2 centimeter buttonhole here as well. Okay, those are the 3 placements. You don't need more than 3 because it's a loose fit anyways. And now I'll just need cute buttons like these or these. I don't know. I think I like these better. I also have huge red ones, but they're way too big. Now I'll think I use these. I think they go very well together also with the embroidery, and the 2 centimeter buttonholes should be fine. So I'll add these in and then also put the buttons in onto the other side. Just remember, you want to have the buttonholes on your right side and the buttons on your left side. Is that right? Yes. So that you have your opening like this, so from your left side, which is technically the female closure, I guess. So yeah, let's just do that. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. This was such a quick sew actually. The only thing that took time was the embroidery. So if you plan on not doing any embroidery, this should be done in 2 hours probably. If you already have all the materials gathered, that is of course, but maybe plan more time for if you want to do any embellishments. Doesn't matter if it's embroidery or anything else. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you'll get notified every time I post. I post on Sundays. Please also leave a comment down below to boost the algorithm and to put out this video to people that might like, stuff like this. That's very much appreciated. If you haven't already, also go ahead and check out my social media. Links to all of that are in the description down below. I do short format content that might be interesting to you as well. The most direct way to support me and keep videos just like this one coming is to head over to my Etsy store, where you also can find the pattern that we worked on today. So go ahead, check that out. There are so many other patterns as well. So maybe if you search for a top or bottoms or a coat or anything, doesn't matter, dresses, I have everything. So please go ahead and check that out. And a special thank you to all of my channel members. You can become a channel member through the link in the description down below and support me that way as well. And with all of that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you next Sunday. Bye guys!